I got a lot bigger of a room this year than I did last year. Just a show of hands quick. How many people got one of those weird tags at the front door? How many people are kind of freaked out by it? Has anyone scanned it yet? Wow, I wasn't expecting anyone to have scanned it yet. The tags are something we made for a little bit of fun here, but they have a QR code on the back. The QR code basically, it'll open up a Calendly link if you feel like you want to risk scanning it. The Calendly link gives you a free deep web scan with me at my company, X10 Technologies. So we've been doing these deep web scans for a little while now, and it's been pretty startling. We have a 100% success rate in terms of finding something or some kind of exposure for a company on the deep web. And they never go for just 15 minutes. Everyone usually, it goes for like a half an hour. But if you want free 15-minute deep web scan. They're also NFC-enabled NFC coins, and they enable the giveaway that we're doing. If you weren't able to get one, it's because it was first come, first serve. So I think we gave out like 100 of them. But at the end here, we'll give those a quick scan, or I'll scan them for you, and we'll do a little giveaway. Super quick again, who gets nervous when they talk in front of people? Well, there we go, we've already got something in common. So my name is Hank. This is going to be Hackers on the Move, Tools of the Trade. It's kind of I guess a soft sequel to my presentation last year about social engineering and amygdala hijacking, kind of the human element of cybercrime. So yeah, my name is HankFordham. I'm an enthusiast and luckily now professional hacker. By virtue of that fact, I'm really good in front of big audiences. Needless to say, I'm still really excited to be here today and show you guys some of these tools. I'm now a cybersecurity specialist with X10 Technologies, so I get to run the internal and the external pen testing engagements, as well as our phishing exercises, and obviously the deep web scans. I'm a guest speaker on The Shift with Shane Hewitt, where we talk all across Canada on the radio, which I'm realizing now probably doesn't make sense because I sound nervous. I don't sound like this on the radio. But I basically get to pick topics, and we talk about cybersecurity, different breaches, any news or incidents that happen and make it onto the news, and we get to tear it apart for the late night listener. I also have appearances on, I've been on Vice twice, I've been on Dr. Phil, Washington Post. I was probably equally as nervous to be on Dr. Phil. But all for good things, all for ethical cybersecurity research and disclosure projects. So I'm going to move really quick into my agenda and just explain kind of quickly what I'm going to go over today. And keep in mind that this agenda is focused around tools of the trade. So there's not a lot of Kali Linux. I will be doing a demo, but we won't get too much of that. The agenda is social, kind of surrounding around social engineering and how hackers are entering our networks and compromising our devices with low to no interaction social engineering. I'll show some uncommon and common tools and techniques that hackers are using just to compromise, again, networks and devices, like hacking toys, some car hacking stuff. I saw someone else did a car hacking talk, and I wish I got to get to that, but I'll catch the recording. And just passive hacking and more. And then we'll do a little bit of a demo and a prize giveaway, as mitigations shouldn't even be here anymore, because I realize I'm preaching to the choir. But I think it's important anyways that we go over just some really quick, like how to stop this from happening. So super quick, I'm going to start with my favorite definition of social engineering, and that's one by Christopher Hadnagi. His is any act that influences a person to take an action that might or might not be in their best interest. So clicking on a link or downloading a file or entering your credit card number. So obviously, in the context of this presentation, it'll be using tools of the trade for low interaction social engineering. So like creating an evil twin network or a captive portal in spaces with low or no service. So we went to, I was speaking at IT for K-12 in Vancouver this week as well, and we set up a captive portal network just to see how many people would actually risk logging into open Wi-Fi. And I told my partners, like, we're probably likely to see 5 because it's a pretty woke audience, if you will. And we saw just over 140, so we saw 141 in 2 hours. And we didn't collect any info, just that one count, and of course the credit card number. I'm kidding. So I'll also talk a little bit how cyber criminals are using techniques to disguise themselves in their tools. And just a little bit how I'm guessing we all realize there's an open market for attacking new and old technologies. Like, I'm speaking less of ransomware as a service, but I'm still that's obviously still included. But I mean, I'm thinking of like Telegram tools, and especially with the recent invasion in Ukraine, there's been a lot of more access and a lot more tools and nefarious tools being made available to a Western market, just because selling them is a lot harder for them now, obviously. So we're seeing some pretty weird Russian tools come out and stuff like that, and from different countries as well, like Italy. Dances. So again, an example being, setting up where someone's phone who might be, set up to automatically connect to their home Wi-Fi is going to be unlocked on that train. And if you have a Wi-Fi pineapple, then it becomes pretty easy not only to trick that user into connecting to a malicious network, but you can also create or complete attacks like a half handshake attack, for example, where all we need is that network remembered on your phone to get the password in most cases. So I guess this is hard to ask a big audience, but I guess put your hand up if you recognize any of these at all. There we go. Yeah. I knew I was preaching to the choir today. So the JBL one on the bottom left is probably a bit odd. It looks like a Bluetooth speaker. If you guys went to the car hacking presentation, or if you've been researching car hacking at all, I'm not sure if he went over this, but this is a tool that criminals are using to steal Toyotas and steal different car models through CAN bus injection. The one on the top left, I'll go over all of these tools today except that JBL Bluetooth speaker. And you might even recognize the one on the bottom right, the Flipper Zero. This one's transparent, but they usually come in a white format. So there's some cool tools here, but the reality is that companies need to realize these tools have the full capability to compromise their network and their device. Whether or not, I realize there's a stigma around the Flipper Zero right now, and I'm going to speak a little bit about that as well, but all of these tools are dangerous and they can cause damage or loss of property. So, the first tool that I'm going to mention today, people looked at me weird probably because I have a light bulb in my laptop bag. But this is an electromagnetic frequency injection tool. It's basically an EMF generator, I guess you could call it, like a pocket EMF generator. They're super duper cheap to make. It's about 20 bucks in parts, but the device is resold out of Italy mainly as a slot machine jammer. And it obviously doesn't work as effectively as a slot machine jammer now in North America, just because there's obviously been mitigations, and one of those being painting the inside of slot machine cabinets with an adhesive, not adhesive, a conductive paint, just so that if someone does try and attack anywhere on the outside of the cabinet, it's signal through that conductive paint. So super easy, cheap fix, but they do tend to still be being abused in some places. Obviously in other countries where the gambling or casino equipment is a little bit older, but also in Canada where we have tons of different bars that offer casino equipment. One of the things I mentioned to IT for K-12 is also that it has the potential to work on some models of change machines and vending machines. And just to like give you guys an idea, because you're probably like, this light doesn't really help you understand it, but when you put this through a coin slot on a machine and you're fishing around and wiggling it, you're finding an integrated controller. And if you can find something to manipulate, well, this might not, this antenna's been had better days. But if you can find something to manipulate, then even through like the coin slot, you can trick electronics into activating when they shouldn't. So you can imagine it does a lot of really weird things to a lot of different things. It can break a lot of things. It can mess with your phone. At a few offices that I've tested it on, I won't name any, you can hold it right next to the wall and it can actually trick readers and stuff into opening doors. So there's lots of weird phenomena that this device can create. And it's scary because kids are buying them with a curious mind. Everyone and criminals are buying them with a curious mind and thinking, where can I use this? What does it work on? Does it work on a machine, a change machine? What about a parking machine? It doesn't work on a parking machine. But so you can imagine they're getting these and they're holding them up to different things and vending machines and readers and seeing what they can get to happen. So there's a lot of documented abuse in recent years. And again, it's being mostly sold as a slot machine jammer. That's kind of a scam to get people to buy it, because in North America it's not going to be that effective anymore. But having said that, I do have a video here. And I guess this might prove me wrong in saying this isn't effective, but I'm just trying not to get in too much trouble. Oh, do I have audio? Okay, here. Let me just switch my audio devices. Or you know what, we might have to just... The video should be good enough.
Let's put the business out of thousands of dollars. Yeah, thousands of dollars, and on Christmas Eve at that. And I found out how police say they did it and how it was all caught on camera. You can see on this business surveillance video people playing a game at the Grand Riviera. It's a sweepstakes parlor on Rock Quarry Road. Customers play games, stolen cash. From the distance, their actions seem ordinary, but zoomed in, you can see one of the men pull out a device and push it into the table. Police say that man, 20-year-old Kadarius Peoples, used the device to trick the machine. He put it in the dollar slot, making the amounts he was playing for go up. They say Peoples was working with this man also at the table, 23-year-old Damian Parker. Police say the two won nearly $7,000 extra from using the device. They didn't take those winnings home, though, and instead ended up in jail. The two now face felony charges. They're scheduled to be in Wake County.
So, yeah, they got arrested. I'm just gonna go next, so that doesn't keep going. But yeah, you can imagine, like, again, maybe build one of these. I posted the design files on HankFordham's, and I'll also post it on my GitHub. I'm a big fan of get it out there, and then it won't work anymore. So if you guys want to download that, you can. I'll share my GitHub at the end. This next tool here is called a relay station attack. The silly criminals are selling it as a car hacking tool. It's a keyless go repeater, is what they're calling it. I tried to censor out that website, but I'm realizing now, looking from afar, that I didn't do a very good job. But these are low cost. They're also like $80 to build, but they're extremely expensive to purchase from a criminal or black market. For obvious reasons, they're looked at kind of an investment by car thieves. So there's a bit of, just like you would see a paywall in front of things like Burp Pro or Nessus Pro. You see this paywall where they've put a price in front of this tool that stops anyone from purchasing that wouldn't be interested in purchasing it for its explicit use, which in this case is for car thieves. Obviously, this isn't in my everyday carry, but so I don't have one here to show you today. But if you're interested in joining me in the adventure of reverse engineering these, shoot me a message, because I have gotten my hands on one, and I've been taking it apart and taking good photos of it. That also made it so I could test them, so that when I'm telling you about it, I'm not blowing smoke. So they are really effective. They're very, very effective, considering PKES, Passive Keyless Entry System, was invented in 1995. And car companies didn't start becoming more privy to people trying to abuse things like a car's fob code until around 2021, when they made it so not only did they add things like rolling codes, but there's time to lives, and there's a ton of other things that are beyond my scope to explain to you on car hacking and how they've mitigated that in the past. But because of this, there's this massive 2-decade, like almost 3-decade window where any car model built inside of that time that has passive keyless entry enabled is vulnerable to this device. And so if your car has it where you walk up and you put your hand behind the handle, and as long as your key fob is in your pocket, the car unlocks, that's passive keyless entry. And the way that this tool, I put the JBL tool there because it steals cars. I'll explain that in a second. It's different though. The one we're looking at is the black one on the left side. So if you look at it, you might see, it's a little bit hard to see, but you might see there's a little box on top of a big box. And the way that these work, they're sold together as a package, and the criminals, like, go to the website and check it out. The criminals have a really cool, funny way of advertising these things. But the small box is built so that it sits next to that car handle door. And the cars have antennas, like low frequency sub-gigahertz antennas all around the car, and they broadcast a challenge. So if someone were to walk up to a car and pull the door handle, it issues a challenge, the key fob gets the challenge, and it answers the car back, and that's what unlocks. So with this tool, a hacker will sit by the car, or a criminal, I shouldn't say a hacker, we're the good guys, but someone will sit by the car with the small box, and it's literally, in Russian, it's described as the small box and then another hacker or cyber criminal will stand near the house or an office or in a cafeteria. Big technique that law enforcement has been seeing recently is people going into malls and trying to go around the cafeteria. And you don't have to carry it like this, like looking obvious. You can put it in a laptop bag. But the idea is that these two boxes relay that attack from the fob back to the car. So car to fob, gets it, relays it back to the car. And because of this, rolling codes don't matter. And there's a time to live on these challenges, but the time to live is so long that until 2021, it's the time to live is so long that relay, the actual time it takes to relay that challenge, it's very quick. It's millisecond. So it's very easy to beat that time to live. And so obviously because of all of this, there's been a lot of increased abuse in recent years. And obviously with more access to a Western market, because it is Russian technology, it was developed in Russia, and now it's being sold out of Bulgaria because it's harder for them to sell it now. So, and again, it's also mostly sold on the deep web. I should just say Telegram. That Agent Grabber website is not on the deep web. Oh, geez. Well, there you go. But so that's not on the deep web, obviously. And again, like I said, this guy, they're advertising these things for $15,000, and it's in Bitcoin, conveniently enough. So when I saw this, I thought it was extremely fake. I even thought the attack was fake. And I asked a friend to help me get one. And he went to Bulgaria and he got one and brought it back, and he let me take it apart. So thank you. I'll show you guys a video now of this tool. So you can see, I guess I'll pause it super duper quick. There's one guy over here next to the car, and the other guy's holding the big box, and he's looking for where in the house is this key located. It could be in someone's pants pocket on the floor, or maybe it's in a nightstand. So they basically, and you can see a lot of videos of this where they go and they try for a while to find this, and he's looking again for the signal because he's lost it. They want to start the car. So now they've start the car and they'll drive away. Obviously that doesn't work once they get more than like 200 meters away. So what they'll actually do is reprogram the car for a new fob, and then they'll re-VIN the car. And then they'll sell the car.
What's the range?
Oh yeah, also I forgot to say this. Please feel free to interrupt me and ask questions, but good job. The range is like, so with the small box, the range from the car to the small box can be 20 to 50 meters. And then the range from the small box to the big box can be up to like 300 to 500 meters, because that one you can operate at a higher band frequency. It's using like 2.4 gigahertz, and whereas the car's challenge is actually operating off 315 megahertz. So it's a much higher, much stronger frequency, and you can get a lot further. And so what they'll do is they'll steal that low frequency challenge from like 20, 50 meters, and then they'll relay it with a higher frequency to the other box. That box demodulates the challenge, and then it repeats the challenge again at a lower frequency, so that it can get it from the fob, and then rinse and repeat, and you get a new car. This next tool, this is one of my favorites. Has anyone ever heard of this tool before?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I love that. So the Ponagachi is really cool. I didn't make it. I don't know the guy that did, but the Ponagachi is basically a Wi-Fi hacking project that's meant to introduce people to the concept of machine learning and Wi-Fi hacking. And So it's super inexpensive. I used to have a really weird range on here of $10 to $200, and I realized that was nuts. But you can get the Raspberry Pi Zero W chip for $10, depending on the chip shortage going on and where you get it. But roughly, you're going to end up spending $100 if you want it to like have a screen and maybe a 3D printed case or something. No, I'm not selling them. This is the only one I have. The neat thing as well about these is while they're considered kind of a kid's toy, they're not really. They're really effective on pen testing engagements if Wi-Fi is in scope and you don't have the time to go and test an office, or if you want to just send this device out and have them turn it on or plug it in, then it can actually do a lot of the Wi-Fi assessment for you as long as you've trained it in an effective environment, because it works with machine learning. So if you trained this by leaving it in your basement for a few weeks and letting it try and hack your home Wi-Fi, then it's going to be a pretty dumb AI. But if you train this by walking around downtown, and I'm not telling people to walk around downtown, but theoretically thinking, if you were to train this by walking around right here, then it would be a very, very smart AI. When it comes to Wi-Fi hacking, it would be much more effective. This one I've had since 2019. I like to think it's a smart AI. It's really good at what it does. Yes and no. No. You can actually, another cool thing with these is there's a lot of functionality you can disable and enable to make it so you're not worried about breaking any laws. From this? Well, I work for a company now. I'm not allowed to turn it on. But I did do it last year, and I got the weird. So these things have the ability to get messages. There's an inbox on them, and someone had messaged my Ponagachi last year, and because you can connect it to the internet, I actually got to respond to them, and we set up to go out for a beer. So I thought that was kind of cool, but. Yeah, they can, like what he's referring to is when one of these sees another one in the same room, because they can communicate using Wi-Fi and they use machine learning, the developer thought it would be a cute but creepy idea to make it that if they're in the same room, they'll actually see each other. And on the screen, it'll say, oh, hey, Nano, nice to see you again. And they'll actually start working together to make things faster and hack Wi-Fi faster. And you just reminded me of a really good story. I used to get to teach kids how to make these, which, trust me, was a good thing, not a bad thing. We would teach kids about the ethics of cybersecurity, the ethics of and repercussions of breaking the law around cybersecurity, introduce them to 3D printing, as well as little computers, machine learning, and hacking. So it was an absolute blast getting to work with kids, and it showed me that I'm like, they're going to make me look like nothing in a few years. That they constantly think outside of the box, and they're really, really good at learning this stuff. But back to the story, I was teaching one of these classes in the Sutina police station, and which is an interesting place to teach a Wi-Fi hacking class. But in the ethics course, it was very clear that we were to whitelist the police's Wi-Fi. And so all the kids went through and they had to learn how to whitelist and work in scope to the demo network only, but the police chief's daughter didn't listen to that part of the demo. And so despite all of our best effort except one person in the room, the police chief's daughter, everyone's Ponagachis started getting the handshake for the Sutina police Wi-Fi. And because there's like 20 of these things in the same room, they all started trying to work together and get a better handshake. And then one kid learned like how to enable a plugin to connect it to Wiggle and WPASec so that it would share the location that it found the handshake, but it would also automatically crack it for them. And so now, within minutes, before you can even tell the kids to turn them all off, everyone had the password for the Sutina police Wi-Fi network. That wasn't part of the presentation. I hope I'm not in trouble for saying that, but yeah, you reminded me about that. Oh, really? Yeah, see, and it's so to me, like when I try and explain this to a non-hacker audience, I say this can literally lead to ransomware. It's weird to think of, but if you have Active Directory internally on your network, and that's not configured in a way that when I get that Wi-Fi password and I can connect, if I can pivot and I can get more privileges. And we have a pen tester at X10, Igor Chell, who he has a 100% success rate, and even going into a company that's already had an assessment done and finding a lot of vulnerabilities in Active Directory. He scares me. And so I'm like, yeah, this could literally lead to ransomware, because if they can get, if you're not using Wi-Fi 6 and if you're not using a secure password, and they can get that and access your Active Directory environment and it's not configured securely, this kid's toy just led to a ransomware attack. I hate to explain too much, but obviously, as well, having said that, these are still being heavily abused in recent years. And so there's 29,649 active units when I made this slide. And I very quickly realized the next day how popular these were, because the number jumped to 30,090. And this was like a week ago, so I imagine it's even higher now. And you might be able to see the number next to Canada there is 1,330, but that's not accurate. Just because of, or by the virtue of how networking in Canada in relation to the USA works, that number is likely a lot higher. If we look at America's number, it's 11,500 at the time of making this slide. So it's likely closer to 5,000 active units in Canada. And most of these units are possessed and operated by, low to no experienced cybersecurity professionals, and youth and cybersecurity professionals, a mix of it. But the main demographic would be the curious mind that doesn't realize just how powerful it can be. Sorry?
Just under 31,000 right now.
Yeah, see? And it's climbing. When I made mine, there were like 2,000 units global. There we go. This is one of the fun slides. I hope everyone who knows what this is. Good. Okay. Well, actually, I guess it's fair not to expect everyone to know what it is. This is a Flipper Zero. It's if you don't know what it is now, you probably will soon, or you'll see it on some YouTube video or some short or something. They're kind of making their way around social media and around the internet right now, and it's a hacking toy. I shouldn't say hacking toy, it's a hacking gadget. It was kickstarted in 2021, I want to say, and it raised just over $4 million, which was pretty big considering their ask. So again, they're kind of considered a kid's toy, but it's not really. I'll explain some of that as well, because there's a lot of documented abuse in recent years. And so Canada Border Services Agency has actually started to seize these devices because obviously they don't see any benefit to letting any more of these in the country. It's banned by Amazon right now. It keeps getting unbanned and banned. So I know this week, I think it's unbanned. I think there might be 5 left right now. And then on eBay, it's banned this week. So next week, it might be the other way around. You might get it on eBay, but not Amazon. But CBSA might steal it. It was a pain to get this thing. I had to get someone to deliver it to Vancouver and then bring it to our office and then confirm it was real and then courier it down to me in Calgary. So it was a bit of a pain to get one of these. But when I say it's not really a kid's toy, it's because of some of the features that it enables people with little to no know-how or technical know-how to execute. So there's functions, features, and attacks inside this device that I brought something today to give a little example of what I mean. But if we look back, who recognizes the name Sammy Kamkar? There you go. If you know Sammy Kamkar, you're researching in the right places. So Sammy Kamkar made an exploit a few years ago, and he called it Open Sesame. It's based off of a toy that was sold by Mattel. His attack wasn't based off of this toy, but it was something that he used one of these toys to demonstrate that attack. So it's basically a girl's toy that was sold by Mattel in like 2000. Oh, it stopped in 2010. So it's pretty old. But it was basically a girl's texting device. So girls would plug the USB into their computer at home, and it would have internet, so it enabled them with this device to go message their friends around the world. It was like old school texting, I guess. So you didn't have to pay for a plan. But inside of this device is a Texas Instruments CC1101 chip, and there's another chip in here that enables an attack on radio frequency. So what Sammy Kamkar did is he developed the Open Sesame attack, and he programmed this toy so that it would guess all of the codes for a garage door in seconds. And it did this using the, I can't remember the algorithm's name. I probably couldn't pronounce it anyways. But the De Bruin sequence. He used the De Bruin sequence to guess every single code within just a few seconds. And at the time, you can imagine criminals were very, very excited about this. And they really wanted their hands on one of these devices, and if they got their hands on the device, the next step was get your hands on that code. And Sammy Kamkar posted his code for Open Sesame on GitHub, but he famously bricked the code so that if anyone, and he actually said this on the repo, anyone that didn't know what they were doing probably doesn't have business using this code anyways. So if you know what you're doing, it shouldn't be hard to fix it. And so back, even a couple years ago, I would argue, even in 2018 and 19, right before COVID and before this got developed and released, it would have been very hard to fix that code and make the Open Sesame attack work properly. But what the flipper does is makes it so if you plug a CC1101 chip, which you can order now on eBay for $2, if you plug it into the general purpose in-out board here, the GPIO board on the top, it comes pre-configured with the Open Sesame code unbricked. So my point when I say that these aren't really a kid's toy, I constantly hear people say they're a kid's toy, and it's silly because it enables people now with little to no know-how in technology or hacking or anything to carry out an attack that before would have taken us some hardware and a little bit more know-how on how to carry out that attack. So now you have people that are just like crazy. They're trying to sniff for radio frequency, or they're doing Bluetooth spamming. I see, is Wayne still in here? No? Oh, okay. Well, I promised him I wouldn't do this, but for this next part, I just want to show people a really quick demo. This was a little more relevant in an IT for K-12 audience, but there was a service that these two students in 2017 were offering, and even more recently there was another case of this where a student was offering a service using this. The one in 2017 was using an ESP32 dev board, so like a Node MCU. Or a Lolin, but what they were doing is they were offering students the ability to have their classes crashed on demand. So if they didn't want the class to function properly that day, then students would actually, they would launch deauthentication attacks on the Wi-Fi. They would spam the Wi-Fi network with like fake beacon packets. And there's a ton of other things they would do. But if you want to participate in this, you pull your phone out and unlock it. If you don't, I don't blame you. So you're not hurting my feelings. I'll hold mine up so you can see as well. And hopefully this doesn't mess up our stuff. But yeah, hopefully. The big old cross your fingers. But so this actually got a couple students arrested and charged because they were offering this denial of service and one of the students was doing it by virtue of using a Flipper Zero, and so it basically he purchased this, and with very little to no technological know-how, he set up that service and attack. And another student was using an ESP32, which is a little bit more know-how. You have to program it. But right now it's sending out a Bluetooth request thing. You've probably heard about this online, like the Bluetooth attack that these flippers are starting to do. And if we left this running for a while, in IT for K-12, the idea was if you can make it to your Wi-Fi network, like just see if, oh boy. Okay, there we go, and there, oh. So see if you can get to your Wi-Fi network, and then imagine that happening in the middle of like a hospital or a classroom or an industrial control environment. Any kind of interference like that can actually be detrimental to not only obviously an educational environment, but a critical infrastructure environment or your business. We're just about done here. This next slide I just wanted to show everyone because I think it's important that everyone kind of explore some of these hacking gadgets a little bit. Well, I mean, that one probably, I'll bet you they weren't very secretive about it. I think that's how they got caught. There is, yes. Yeah. So you can identify a deauthentication attack by actually, so how I identify a deauthentication attack would be watching the network in monitor mode. And if you're noticing packets where the header is a deauthentication header, it says it's a deauthentication packet. If those keep appearing in a frequency, like say there's more than 3 a second, then you're dealing with a deauthentication attack. I'm better at breaking things than I am fixing them, so I'm working on that blue team flag still, but I couldn't tell you. I know how to see if one's happening, and I imagine there's some pretty cool ways that blue teamers have for actually tracking down the source of a deauthentication attack. But I wouldn't know exactly how without my silly movie ideas. I would set up a web of node MCUs or ESP32s, and each of those would watch for deauth, and if 3 of them went off within 50 meters over here, then he's probably over there. Probably some stupid, way overthought method to detect where they are. I'll bet there's way better ways now, especially with EDR and SIMs, how powerful those solutions are becoming. I bet it would scream like a Christmas tree where this is originating from, at least what device it's originating from. So yeah, Hack5. There's more than just Hack5. I kind of regret not putting those other ones on here, but There's like Hack5, Lab 401, Hacker Warehouse. Those are the good ones, actually. But these are very, very cost efficient and high quality tools. They're very good at what they do. In some cases, they might require a little bit more know-how to set up, but they enable pen testers to carry out an engagement with a lot more ease. And so one of my favorite tools here that I pulled out was the land turtle. If there's one tool that I suggest anyone here, even if you're not a pen tester, actually I'll say two tools. If there's two tools I suggest everyone here buy, even if they're not a pen tester, it would be the land turtle and the USB rubber ducky. And both, like the rubber ducky offers you not only insight into some of these hacking tools and how they work, but it's also, it can help you automate a lot of IT processes that you might take, but it also helps you automate hacking people. A USB rubber ducky, for those that don't know, is basically a USB stick that operates as a human interface device. So if you guys have heard of Stuxnet, where they dropped a bunch of USB sticks outside of an Iranian plant, this is basically how that was carried out, was with malicious USB sticks. So anything you can do with a mouse and a keyboard in half an hour, this can do in about 1 minute. And there's lots of cool payloads on the Hack5 repository as well. The land turtle, this is an Ethernet USB adapter. Maybe the USB is making it obsolete now, but that's something that I wish I could name companies, but on like one of my most recent pen tests with this land turtle, I was able to get it plugged into a compute on the back of a computer that was like a spaghetti monster. Like they just had so many cables coming out of this computer that when we plugged the land turtle into that computer, we actually had a full shell into that Active Directory environment for the entirety of the pen test. And so we were able to find a lot of misconfigurations, and obviously we pivoted and got domain admin. And it was like lots of fun going through that pen test, but I highly recommend familiarizing yourself with some of the Hack5 tools, even like this OMG cable. These things are the coolest thing ever. The Elite version actually got a new update called HIDX Stealth or something like that, where you can plug it into a device, like say you're sending it to a client in a pen test and they plug it in to charge their phone or computer. It'll work on both devices, the phone and the computer, but it'll also create a reverse shell using PowerShell on that victim device. So you very quickly can get access just with a charging cable onto a victim device. We'll talk more about those next demo. But again, just like everything else, obviously these are abused heavily in recent years, but they require a little pinch more know-how to make work effectively. This one's going to be a super quick slide, mostly because I don't think I'm supposed to have it, but this is a fairly expensive tool, especially with one of the services they offer, their Kaiju rolling code analyzer. It goes from $1,000 to $14,000, and in reference to our talk about the rolling codes earlier, if your car or your garage is or your home alarm is using a rolling code, if this is able to get a copy of one of those rolling codes and they can submit it to an analyzer like Kaiju Rolling Code Analyzer, they can actually brute force it and generate more valid rolled codes. So they can use this device to still steal cars that are using rolling codes, and to disable home alarm systems. They can disable and hack like gate codes, like an RFID reader. The flipper can also fuzz RFID readers, I forgot to mention, but I think that's not a kid's toy. They're very effective depending on the version purchased, and obviously some of these features, well, any of the devices you get are programmable the way you want. to get it pre-programmed with that home alarm features and all the juicy stuff for criminals is only for law enforcement and government. So we can take a little peace of mind in that. But if you work in or around law enforcement or government at all, definitely take advantage of that to order one of these. And then, because I consider it a kind of a right of way. I don't carry one in my everyday carry because I don't want to lose it. Plus, honestly, you can do anything with this. If you want to save a few $1,000s, you can do anything with that with a Proxmark or a Chameleon Tiny. Or actually, a Hack RF would be the good way to go. I would actually buy a Hack RF way before I bought one of these, which that'll be for another presentation too. This slide is the evil ring. This one is not something that's developed in. Oh yeah, I'll be quick. We'll be good. This is like a super cheap, quick little demo I made. By the way, if you're leaving right now and you have an NFC tag, I hate to call you out, but if that NFC tag is a winner, then we might not be able to scan it. I have ways around that too. I planned ahead. So this one is super cheap. It looks really ugly right now because I had to hot glue it together. So don't drop it if you do buy one. But they're sold by Dangerous Things, which also sells an implant kit. Like if you are so interested at all, I actually do have a friend, and she was here for this presentation, where if you they sell a needle with a sterilized NFC chip, so you can inject it into under your skin, and then you have one of these NFC tags in your hand instead of on a ring, so you can be cooler than me. But this one only works on Android. The demo I'm about to do only works on Android. A lot of people, just by me saying that, probably are cluing in right now. I'm seeing a couple people. Oh. I made this because it's mostly educational to a non-tech audience on why we should keep our devices close, and we should have good security settings on those devices. So we'll do demo time. This is all we're doing on Kali. Oh boy! So I put the ring on the phone. So we'll kill that session. There we go. All right. So the idea here is that this ring is NFC enabled. It's sold by Dangerous Things. They're like $14. I don't know what they are now, but if we hold on to this phone, so I'm going to hold on to the phone, it's going to scan the phone for a record. And depending on the phone's firmware version and obviously what device you're attacking, there's no interaction needed here. And there's a few exploits now where even if your APK file is an unknown APK file, you can bypass that feature on Android. That's not part of the demo because it's a little bit longer, but if you go on Google and you search Android APK bypass, there's a pretty new method for this that came out. So just with a couple of clicks here, if we make sure it's on the internet, and wait for that to go through. There we go. So we got a reverse shell. So I'll take, yeah, pretty quick, eh? So you can imagine if someone were making a phone call. I mean, that's easy, and I've done it. So now I'll hold the phone like this, and what we're going to do is we're going to list the webcams on the phone. And we see it still didn't wake up. If you take one eye and point it at the phone and one at the screen, you'll see now, I'm just kidding, that hopefully I didn't hold it for too long. Oh, I did it. I didn't get in front of it in time. But now we can take photos through it. without even waking up the screen or unlocking the phone or anything. We can take photos. But there's a lot more we can do too, which is kind of scary. So if we hit help, you can just, because this is a tech audience, you can see background apps. There's like, you can start or stop processes. You can start a reverse shell. You can write files, view files. So if you wanted to view photos or text messages or contacts, you can do networking. So if config, normal commands. System info, you can record audio, record the webcam, take pictures, blah, blah, blah. But one of my other favorite ones to show to people is geolocate. And so this is a very, very accurate latitude and longitude. If you take that latitude and longitude right now, and I guess actually we're done after this, so I'll just, for the sake of fun, that long to address. And we'll just throw it in here. Hopefully my Wi-Fi isn't too slow. The link doesn't work because I didn't want to expose my API key. Yeah, so I know there is a link there, but it won't work without a Google API key. See? So anyways, if you look up that latitude and longitude on Google, it will show exactly what room we're in right now. So if we zoomed in on the college, Bow Valley, we would actually see we're in this room if we were to kind of look at an overhead picture. So like I told you guys, I would give you my GitHub repo. So if you want to make your own evil ring for $14, or just with one of the NFC tags, if you were here early enough to grab one, then go ahead and grab that repo and program your NFC tag or your ring. I was going to go over mitigations, but again, I'm preaching to the choir. So basically things like don't remember your Wi-Fi network, don't automatically connect to Wi-Fi, disable NFC when you're not using it, disable Bluetooth when you're not using it, don't trust anything, monitor everything. And then at IT for K-12, the big kicker here, the big important point, and especially if you're involved in any kind of blue team activity with clients, is implement EDR, implement endpoint detection and response. And it's very important that you marry that with a SIM as well. Because if everything isn't communicating in a way that you know what is happening on your network, well, then this flipper could lead to a ransomware attack. And so that's it for me today. If you got one of those NFC tags, come up to the front and we'll scan it. And whoever wins can bring it to the end ceremony with James Cairn, and we'll get your Wi-Fi pineapple. So whoever gets the winning tag, you'll get a Wi-Fi pineapple.